For our animal lovers out there, today's episode will be quite the treat. We all know that nature provides us with creatures that come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And it's that last part that we'll be focusing on today, as some animals are born with pigmentation disorders that result in the creature to be born completely white. Today, let's take a look at the 10 most terrifying albino animals. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to The Supreme, and click the notification bell for more lit content. Let's get rolling. Number 10. Crocodile. One of the most feared reptiles on planet Earth is also the largest. And of course, I'm talking about the mighty crocodile. And while it is extremely rare that crocs can be born with this mutated color, sometimes it does happen. One unfortunate result of that is that illegal poachers can't wait to get their hands on albino alligator and crocodile skin, making them just another threat to crocs born with this condition. This past summer, down in Florida, a pair of albino alligators produced 19 eggs at the Wild Florida Animal Park. Unfortunately, there's no news out there on how the hatchlings turned out, but over in Australia, back in 2014, a man was actually killed by a 15-foot albino crocodile. The 57-year-old man made his living as a fisherman and wandered out into the water to fix a snagged fishing line. After the unfortunate event, the croc was immediately shot and killed by officials. And check out this image of one of the more bizarre animals we've ever seen. This is another type of albino alligator, one that is sectioned off in black and white. Now, we've never seen anything quite like this, and the story goes that a tourist in Florida caught a glimpse of this strangely colored animal and was able to snap a photo. There are a bunch of folks out there online screaming that this animal has to be fake, but what do you think? Comment down below with your best guess, and we'll continue on with the rest of today's countdown. Number 9. Turtles. Since we started with reptiles, let's switch it over to amphibians for our next topic. There's just something about turtles that brings some folks a sense of calm, probably partially induced by the slow and steady nature that turtles represent. Like most albino creatures, their rare skin and shell color makes them extremely vulnerable. Turtles, like many wild animals, need their normal colors in order to stay hidden from predators, so the abnormal color basically is a death sentence. Unlike other albino creatures, turtles born like this aren't usually all white, but rather a pink or orangish color. Despite all of that, there's still a wondrous natural beauty. Like in this image that shows a sole, all-white albino turtle swimming with his brothers and sisters in a natural setting. He looks pretty happy, right? Number 8. Zebra. In a world where all white animals are typically considered abnormal, up next we've got an animal that is already mostly white. Of course, we all know that zebras are covered in black stripes as well, but every now and again they're born with stripes that aren't completely dark, and their mane is totally blonde, like this rare tan and white striped zebra that passed away a few years ago over in Hawaii. Her name was Zoe, and the blonde-haired, blue-eyed animal was another that suffered with the genetic pigmentation disorder. She lived to be 19 years old, which is far short of the 30 to 40 years that zebras have been known to live while in captivity. Officially, Zoe only had partial albinism, as she didn't completely lack in color. There have been cases of zebras with this condition surviving in the wild. Sometimes herds can outcast animals of the same species that don't have the same appearance of everyone else in the herd. This unique-looking fella was spotted surviving among other normal zebras out in Africa, as told by NationalGeographic.com. Number 7. Lion. Our second albino mammal on today's countdown is the white lion. Contrary to popular belief, most of these animals are not albino, as they do have some pigmentation in certain areas, like the zebras that we just talked about. Still, regardless of that fact, they're still exceptionally rare. And as is the case with other white animals, surviving in the wild with this color, or lack thereof, is very difficult. The natural color of the lion allows it to blend in with the tall brush and other vegetation. Also, lions like to hunt at night, so you can see why being all white in those conditions could be a problem. While surviving in the wild for white lions is hard enough, survival for them in captivity could prove to be even harder. You see, there have been evidence that select breeders will purposefully inbreed these animals, as white lion cubs could go for big bucks on the black market. As with anything, being inbred can cause all sorts of complications. Number 6. Reindeer. One of the more majestic animals in all the world, largely known as the prime source of travel for one Mr. Santa Claus, is the reindeer. During the winter of 2018, a photographer from Norway, 24-year-old Mads Nordsveen, took some incredible photos of a rare white baby reindeer while he was out walking in the woods of northern Norway. Take a look. The animal was so purely white, the photographer captioned on the social media post that it almost got lost in the snow. For Mads, this may be a good thing, as some Scandinavian traditions state that seeing a white reindeer is a sign of good luck. Number 5. Doberman. Another common misconception in the world of albino animals revolves around our first and only dog on today's list, the albino Doberman. Now, while it is technically possible for nature to produce a fully albino Doberman pinscher, in most cases these white Doberman, like many other things on today's countdown, are only partially albino. Technically, they'd be known as tyrosinase positive albinoids, but who has the time to say all that? For instance, a true albino would have pink eyes because of the complete and utter lack of pigment, but you'll see that these white Doberman's eyes are blue. Also, instead of the all-black or brown and black fur on most of these dogs, the fur on the white Dobs is a combination of cream, tan, and white. Still, these pups are absolutely magnificent to look at. As you could probably imagine, if you're looking into owning one of these puppies for yourself, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. Our records show that you could spend anywhere from $800 to $1,600 on the highly sought-after white Doberman. Number 4. Kangaroo. The common theme among all of these albino animals is that the chance of something being born as an albino or an almost albino is pretty rare. Of course, that trend continues with the super rare albino kangaroo, though I'm not sure you'll find anything cuter on today's countdown. Back in 2016, this rare fella was caught on camera in South Australia. And if this is indeed a true full albino, then it'd only be the second time one was spotted here since the 1970s. Go ahead and admit it, if you could take one of these albino kangaroo babies home for yourself, then you would, wouldn't you? I know, it looks adorable. But we do have to say that it is highly advised against trying to domesticate a kangaroo if you're not experienced at doing so. While there are plenty stories of successful situations involving kangaroos as house pets, they require a lot in terms of specialized veterinarians and ample space that it can be quite challenging for those who aren't fully committed. Number 3. White rhino. Okay, so follow me for just a second. You've all heard of the rhinoceros before, right? Yeah, the big husky land mammal that can look kind of like a dinosaur, and it even has a big horn sticking out from its nose. Well, the two most popular types of rhinos are the white rhinoceros and the black rhinoceros. Oddly enough, both of these types are gray and not white or black. But has anyone ever seen or held captive a legitimate albino version of the husky rhinoceros? Well, let's just say if they have, then nobody's ever talked about it on the internet because we've searched high and low and we couldn't find any evidence. So, what do you think? Do true albino rhinos exist? Or are the ones that we see in all the pictures on the internet just really, really, really light gray? Number 2. Snake. The slaty gray snake, found typically in Australia and a species of snake that is non-venomous, is usually dark brown in color. But one nearly albino slaty gray was recently found in Australia, and the rare mutation was so uncommon that the wildlife park it was taken to immediately quarantined the animal. It was placed in protection at the Territory Wildlife Park in Northern Territory, Australia, partially to protect it from itself because it was so rare, but also to make sure that it didn't do anything unexpected like carry irreversible diseases and then pass them along to other animals. Regardless of how rare it is, you've got to admit, this animal is truly beautiful. Its scales and pure white coat seem to shine brilliantly. Everything except for its eyes are pure white. Number 1. Squirrel. If you know the Supreme, then you know that sometimes we like to save the cutest for the last, and these albino squirrels don't disappoint. As you've learned today, an animal isn't truly albino unless it has the pink or reddish eyes, signifying that it completely lacks any pigment, and those types of squirrels, while rare, are out there. Then there are the morphed white squirrels, which are all white except for the beady little eyes. Either way, both of these types are exceptionally rare out in the world. Typically, these bleached squirrels are of the eastern gray variety and primarily found in the US. As you can imagine, being born all white like this, especially for an animal that could be as defenseless as a squirrel, can be quite tragic when trying to evade predators. You can just imagine how lucky a passing hawk must feel when he comes across his next meal that's highlighted in all white. There's also a such thing as the Albino Squirrel Preservation Society that houses around 700 members across 8 chapters throughout the United States. As it turns out, the group was founded in 2001 at the University of Texas at Austin that dawned an interesting yet long-standing tradition. The idea is that seeing an albino squirrel on campus before a test was good luck, which, if I'm being honest, I certainly could have used during my brief collegiate career all those years ago. So now's the time for you to let us know. Have you ever come across any albino animal in your life? And if you did, how did you know it was truly albino? Did it have the right colored eyes? Leave those comments with us down below before you get out of here. You've been watching The Supreme. We'll see you next time.